you wait. So welcome, everyone. This is January the 1st, 2026, and yet we are in the January event and the Vasilopita event of TESOL Macedonia-Thrace, Northern Greece. Let me start with happy news. First of all, let me wish TESOL Greece a very happy birthday. I'm sure you saw the posts. TESOL Greece had its birthday the other day. We are very proud to have been an offspring of this association. And of course, they are our companions in this long road of CPD and professional development. All the best. I believe that professional associations are the ticket to staying united and becoming more hopeful, let alone more knowledgeable about what we do. The other happy news has to do with our own board. So huge congratulations go to Dr. Vicky Papachristou, who is now a mom. She had a baby. The baby was delivered a little bit before Christmas. So we have our little Santa Claus. He's cute, sweet, and he's gaining weight by the day. Vicky might not be able to join today, but I do hope she will be in at some point to tell us about the baby. So here was our update, and let's get started. So I think I've missed a couple of people as they were coming in. Let me copy names so that I don't miss anyone from the lucky spin the wheel. Please mute yourselves while you are not speaking. Though I must say that I have planned this session as a very interactive one. I have based this on a previous session that I presented some years ago in Larissa, but this time I moved the focal point to essay. You might wonder why. Because I believe that the essay is the number one reason why students do not want to follow, let's say, more demanding exams, such as the Cambridge exams, or even the ECP exams. It tends to be a scarecrow at this in our times. I feel that we are getting very comfortable with certificates that are not so demanding in the writing part. And this is not a good idea because writing is one of those transferable skills that is needed. And we need to be able to provide this. Part of it starts with us. I mean, if we are in a situation where we feel a bit scared of writing, or if we feel that, this thing that nobody understands and nobody likes, then our own mood is ruined from the get-go. So let's get started. I already gave you my opinion on it, but do you feel that writing might be seen as an unsustainable task? And when I say unsustainable, I mean in terms of our effort, the students' effort, the time it requires, the problems it might cause. Just share your thoughts and ideas. Please feel free to unmute yourselves, use chat, whatever works. It's meant to be a very interactive session. Yes, Costandina.
Thank you very much for once more. Just because I grew up loving writing, it was, I've always been triggered to teach it and try to find the best way so as for my students to also share the same passion. But the problem is that what I've been dealing with, especially as far as junior high school or even high school students are concerned, first of all, they say that they don't have any ideas. This is one of the most common problems that I keep facing. I don't have any ideas. And, the writing could be right about your birthday party. And don't get me started about globalization and its impact on education and stuff like that. It's like, okay, how come you don't know? I mean, I always have these problems and I try to help them. And one thing is that they are also not taught how to carry out such tasks, even in Greek schools. I mean, I find it extremely hideous, and I'm terribly sorry for using this word, that I am the one to teach them how to write something first in English and then in Greek. And we're talking about ages 14 up until 17. It's actually surprising to see that. But I do understand that we have children that do not know how to even write using the pencil or the pen. They do not read books. And, personally, I keep struggling a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm afraid that this is going to continue. Let us not forget that now we are up against AI, and AI is not used only at universities, colleges, or by senior high school students. Even the little ones have found ways to cheat the system.
Exactly.
And it's becoming demotivating for us, because if we cannot trust our students, then, and I mean, what makes you think I will believe that this perfect piece of writing belongs to you when you struggle in class and the discrepancy between the two levels is such? Thank you, Costandina. Any other opinions, any other views? Please feel free to unmute yourselves and contribute to the discussion. So,
hello.
hi. Yes, Fenya.
Hi. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year and welcome back from bed. We are so proud of you. You should talk to us about your experience.
Now is not the time, though. Well, writing has become one of the things the students dread when it is done in class, because we do it in class. We have decided that since everybody is bringing almost perfect written homework from home, it's something that we should deal. It's something that we should deal with, and something that we need to do in class. It takes up a lot of our time, but it is worth it. And this prevents them from using AI. I do not forbid it. I advise them to, when they have no ideas, to actually go to an online source, whatever that is, and just get the idea right then and there, because I understand we're talking about teenagers, of course, and they get the ideas, and then together we form the paragraph, we form the essay, and that's how we are doing it. We have been doing this since 2 years now, I think.
Yeah. And I believe I mean, I'm orientating myself towards this. To be honest, I have not received too many samples of perfect essays. From my proficiency classes, there are specific students who've been trying to pull the wool over my eyes for the past 2 years. But of course, the discrepancy between what they produce when they write an essay in class and what they do when they are home proves that this is their actual ability. We have mock tests every week, so their inability to perform at this level becomes obvious. But I totally agree. It should be moved and it should be made an in-class task. In the past, we were afraid of mothers writing the essays of their children or fathers providing vocabulary. Now we have whole applications that do it, and nobody seems to mind. We are being de-skilled and we don't see it. Of course, I do agree with you that there is a creative way to use AI. And the last thing we need is to create demons and devils out of technology and make children feel scared, afraid, or distrust them. What we need to do is teach them the digital citizenship that comes with all that. So thank you both for your contribution. Let's have a look. I think we've already mentioned a couple of problems, but what are the main issues? Let me check, because I think I've got a couple of messages here. We have to take, Nikos contributed that we have to take into account their short attention span. Nick, you're so right about this. And it's becoming shortened by the minute. They cannot focus. And I believe, now, I mean, obviously, totally different skill, but the ECPE listening has become a lot longer now, and it makes them go like, what's happening? I can't keep my focus. And they keep discussing this. So it is an issue. Hi, Vasiliki. It's so lovely to see you. Sophia, you're right. They do not pay attention to the rubric. So one of the problems might be that the students rush into writing without actually understanding what they have to write. Other problems. We've already mentioned that they do not have ideas. They dread writing, and they have not been taught vocimio, essay writing. I believe that they get into essay writing when they start preparing for the Panhellenic exams, which by definition comes after we finish, after we are over and through with them. So Konstantina is right. We do the donkey work. We teach all the components that come under the umbrella topic of essay writing. Okay, any other problems that we faced? Lack of ideas, cheating, dreading it, inability to understand the genre. Anything else?
Can I add to what I said? I also noticed they rush it, but in a way, like, I don't care. I teach writing to younger levels as well, like seniors. And the other day they were taking a test. First of all, they kept asking me about what they need to write, although it was written on the paper very clearly. And we have practiced it in 2 writings that they had for an assignment. And secondly, when I was checking if everything it was well on the writing, a student of mine had no full stops, terrible cohesion and coherence. And when I asked him to correct it, because he had plenty of time to do that, he refused to do the work. He was like, "Oh, miss, I can't do this anymore. I just want to get this over." And I was like, "Okay, but don't you want to get a better grade on your test?" And he was like, "No, I don't." So it's a combination of carelessness and a huge lack of attention, and the fact that, okay, it's just a test. I just need to get more than 50% and I'll get over it. They don't really care about perfecting the skill, although they can.
Of course. Thank you, Sophia. Very useful. We have some comments in the chat. Vasiliki has contributed poor vocabulary, and I believe essay makes vocabulary deficiency more pronounced, because in article writing, in story writing, perhaps one can get away with it with other elements, but in essay writing, we need a certain level of formality, complexity, depth, and without the vocabulary, this is not there. Effie has contributed that they do not like to write plans, and we're going to talk extensively about it. I was more than surprised that I heard this from one of my students at City College, not humanities, I must stress that. She told me that she had problems trying to remember what the sources said, because of course they don't write opinion essays, they write bibliography-based papers. And she said, "But miss, I can't remember what is in the sources." And I said, "Don't you take notes as you study, annotate, highlight, as we learn to do it in class?" And she said, "No, I just write and I look at the articles at the same time." So this student was trying to construct an academic paper based on sources without creating a plan, without studying and annotating the sources, without having a proper idea of where this assignment was going. So obviously her head was in a storm. She couldn't remember anything, and planning is very important. Nick, thank you. I really like your idea. I'm actually going to try it first opportunity that I get. So Nico said that they asked the students to come up with 10 words related with the topic. And this gives them some idea about how they understand the topic. It also helps us see how they get it. And Vasiliki also wrote about the issue of cohesion. Sophia also touched that. Yes. Eleni, so true. Transfer from L1, syntax that tries to imitate Greek, even Greek expressions found in their essays. And because of the very formal nature of essays, all of this becomes even more pronounced. Thank you so much for your contribution. Indeed, all of these are serious problems which we mention. We face every single time we work with not just essay writing, it's just that essay writing is the most demanding form of writing. So why is it an unsustainable task? Well, first of all, it is a way to examine the whole language. Given the fact that there is a little bit of reading or a lot of reading, we're going to talk about this, prior to writing, and since the students produce their own paragraphs, ideas, and all that, the whole language is examined. Every single weakness is highlighted. There is nowhere to hide. So this is really a task that is way out of the depth of the students who are struggling. They may attempt an email or even an article if they're lucky and it's chatty or narrative, depending on the level, chatty for B2, narrative for C2. But other than that, it cannot be. Unfortunately, schematic knowledge comes in the way, and you might wonder why unfortunately, we actually use CLIL. We try to use other disciplines as a vehicle to teach language. We promote so much through teaching English. Ideally, we shouldn't depend on the students' knowledge of the world when we examine their writing. But even the examiners at Cambridge or at Michigan or wherever else they correct papers, they have to wonder, is it now his inability, the student's inability, her inability to understand the environment and its problems, or is it poor English that doesn't qualify for C2 or B1 or B2 or whatever? B1 doesn't have essay, of course, but I'm just explaining the problem. The other issue is that in our day and age, schematic knowledge is becoming, I wouldn't say that it's diminishing. It's there, but its sources are different. Sometimes it cannot be trusted. Some other times it's rushed. It's mediated, it's not authentic knowledge. Therefore, we have to dig deeper before we actually get the students to write. And schematic knowledge goes hand in hand with topic familiarity. Without topic familiarity, students end up repeating the same idea 3-4 times. They find one perfect phrase, one perfect lexical item, and they use this again and again. So you see it in 6 or 7 paragraphs. Quite frequently, we see topics that have nothing to do with the learner's interests. And this has to do with their age still, despite the fact that we now have B2 for schools, which is more age-friendly, age-appropriate for our cohort of students. The same happens with CPE and even ECPE. The topics might require critical thinking skills and a little bit of different approach. We need 2 levels. We need first to activate the strategies. So yes, I teach the strategies. And yet, do they actually remember to apply these strategies? Have they become part of their way of dealing with it? And writing demands creativity. Those of us who enjoy writing, enjoy the creativity. It is an arduous task. It is arduous to read a complex text, let alone write it. It's even more complex in that case. And complexity is not one of the favorite words of our students. Writing can also be seen as an unsustainable task because of time factors. If we want to actually work on writing and give it its space, we have to work on the topic, and this requires speaking skills. It might require quite a lot of speaking before we can get into articulating these ideas into writing. There is usually a model provided. Now, if you look at most course books, the model takes up 90% of the work that will be done. instead of spending this time to work on what the students will be writing, which leaves the students unprepared, weak for when they will be left alone. So perhaps what we need to do is split the writing lesson in two, work on the model, assign some homework, sort of flip the classroom homework. They can go home, they can work on this, and they can come back. We can work on what they will be writing and almost or fully write the essay in class. Then we need to work, as I mentioned, on the actual topic they will be writing. And finally, we need to give feedback. Remedial work is very important. Personally, I feel that there is very little space for all of this to happen. I can do it with some tasks. I cannot do it with all of them. Let me check the chat because I have one more message. Yes, the increasingly younger ages, Nick, they are a problem. And also the topics are not, as you mentioned, for this age group. So if we look at this Venn diagram, we will see the complexity of essay writing. First of all, we have all the content-related ideas, how original the ideas are. Are they actually suitable arguments? To give an example here, and I'm sure if I ask for a show of hands, all of the hands will go up. Since the ECPE changed in 2021, and we've been dealing with the sources that support certain aspects of the student argumentation, I've often found students using the wrong source to support the wrong argument. And it takes time to make them understand that, you know, what you have cited here actually supports the opposite of what you're trying to say. And they don't get it, which shows lack of critical thinking skills and lack of common sense. Now, this lack of common sense can also be seen when they deal with the bullet points in the speaking of the ECPE. They do not understand why this is a downside or why this might be considered as a significant plus. And all of this creates, you know, a lethal bomb. So feasibility and specificity, how are we suggesting, what are we suggesting? Is it feasible, and how well the topic is covered? On the other end of the Venn diagram, we have the language-related issues, the accuracy, the fluency, the syntactic issues, the word order, the specificity of the vocabulary, the appropriacy of the writing conventions as used in a very formal piece of writing, the spelling, which is also an issue. I won't even touch the handwriting. I mean, I'm giving it another 5 years for paper-based exams. I think we will be led to computer-based because we will not be able to make out what the students are writing. I have students whose handwriting requires not just a magnifying glass, but an expert in, I don't know, deciphering handwriting, a graphologist. And of course, the fact that some students end up creating a very repetitive text because they simply do not understand. They regurgitate. We give them a couple of ideas. They do not really understand them. They rehash them. They create the mixture again, and that's it. The gray area in between the two circles covers the very important elements of textual features. The genre awareness, how an essay can be toned down, the audience awareness, who is reading this, the style and the register, and the text organization. Are there topic sentences? What is a topic sentence? Should a topic sentence start with a firstly and a secondly, on the one hand, on the other? I cannot understand. The Hellenic American Union organized an amazing event. Don't try to find when. It was before COVID. It was one of the last events before COVID. And there were, I mean, I saw people that I hadn't seen in like 5 years in that event. It was in that, and the room was full. The person speaking was the head of the marking committee for ECCE and ECPE. And she mentioned it clearly. She said, we do not want topic sentences with on the one hand, on the other. We do not like topic sentences with firstly, secondly, finally. These are listing devices to be used within the paragraph. And yet, check out books for writing, models in all books. And this is what we keep repeating, that we can start the paragraph with firstly. And this is what they see. Plus, if we turn to authentic article writing, things are worse there, because American article writers write in their own individual style. Their writing is not meant to be taught. They make significant convention transgressions by using the wrong punctuation, full stop and, full stop but. And of course, these are not things we need to intervene and adapt these before we can give them to the students, in a way, sanitize the document of anything that might work to our disadvantage. So we are left with all this complexity. And what I've done, I have cherry-picked topics from the three exam boards, Cambridge, Michigan, and MSU, B2 and C2. What I would like us to do as we go through is identify the difficulties in each one of these. So I will be reading, because obviously screenshots might not be very clear, or you might be trying to read from the screen of a mobile phone. So in your English class, you have been talking about education. Now your English teacher has asked you to write an essay for homework. Write an essay using all the notes, giving reasons for your point of view. Some parents teach their children at home rather than sending them to school. Is this a good or a bad thing for the children? Write about having a parent as a teacher, making friends, and your own ideas. Before I say anything, could I have some feedback from you? This is a very well-known topic. It's been in the handbook for First for Schools for years. How do you feel about this topic and the format of the essay? Should I say that there are no right or wrong answers? It works wonders with the students. So one of the things I would like to start by, I would like to draw your attention to, is that this topic makes it clear that the essay is written for a teacher. It is very important for students to understand early on, and B2 is the first opportunity for this, that essays are education specific. They are written for teachers. They are academic documents. We do not write an essay for our boss. We write a report for our boss. We write proposals. We might write an article or a blog post for the company newsletter, but we wouldn't write an essay. And this explains the complexity. Now, one of the problems is that, first of all, the students might get confused and write an essay for homework. Instead of reading an essay for homework, they think that they have to talk about homework. And while they're discussing this, they tend to refer to homework all the time. The other problem that I've come up against while using this specific topic is that homeschooling is something we are very far away from in Greece. I'm not sure if it was ever a law of the state for parents to homeschool their children here in Greece. In the United States, in the United Kingdom, it is. There are specific rules, there are specific exams, there are compliances, but you know, it's something that they have heard of. So when the students see this, they feel, oh, these children don't go to school, what a good idea. And they totally misread the topic. And of course, they cannot understand how to develop the points. The final problem, which can be overcome, I don't think that this is a problem that is insurmountable or a problem that makes this task one that we cannot deal with, is the fact that they have to supply their own idea. The problem with this is that usually, especially if they don't plan, they come up with a sub-argument for one of the previous points. So they cannot, when they develop the previous point, the point they add is just a repetition, or it seems to be too small a topic. So we need, first of all, to get them to understand that they need to think widely in this for this topic, and they need to find an idea that will not be used in order to support or explain points 1 and points 2. Anything that anyone would like to say? Have you used this topic? Have you had experience with it? Any funny incidents? My students always open their eyes wide, and they're like, they do not go to school. They have lessons with their parents. One of them said, my mom would kill me if she had to teach me every day. Kiria, she just checks my geography and she gets so angry if she had to teach me. But as you can understand, this is a topic that shows how foreign it can be for them. The change from the, if you remember the part 1 writing with the letter or email where there were comments, the one that now forms the part 1 of the pet writing is recent. And I believe that when this changed, many of us expressed our fear that essay at this level for this specific age group is not the best idea. Perhaps this is true. I'll move on to ECC. I'm sure you have seen that Michigan Language Assessment have created handbooks they didn't used to have. Now they do. They are very good. I have taken lots of materials from them. They can be found via Orpheus. They are downloadable, nice, clear, well-created PDFs, and it's a great step forward. So famous actors play an important role in society and deserve a lot of money. Write an essay on whether you agree or disagree with the statement above. Include specific reasons and examples to support your opinion. Any thoughts, any comments? How difficult would your B2 students find this topic? If you want to use the chat, all the same.
Well, I think that this would not pose many difficulties for them since they follow actors. The only problem that I see is the deserving a lot of money, and that would go to their immaturity to deal with such deep topics, I think, in a B2 level, of course. Other than that,
the topic is clear. Yes, it's interesting. I believe we have seen it more with athletes. And I believe there is an MSU topic, but I'm not sure if it's an MSU C2 or B2. I think it's C2. There was a topic about star athletes and singers being paid a lot of money, a lot more money than doctors and nurses, and who deserves more. In general, I agree with you, Fenya. I believe that money is not something they understand. It requires work. So what is the important role they play in society? What kind of acting are we talking about? Definitely not the superficial kind of soap opera actors. We could even touch on what they do, because many of the famous Hollywood stars are philanthropists. They have their own charities. They support organizations. In order for this topic to be properly developed, learners need some prompting. And when the prompting comes in, one might wonder, so without the prompting, will they be able to understand? So I will come back to this, but I will just jump the gun and mention here that, yes, we do need to provide the scaffolding, but gradually we need to remove part of the scaffolding and test how they can cope with this. So moving on to MSU, this comes from test 5. There are different ways to be successful in school. For example, some students take very detailed notes, while others are good at memorizing important facts. Some students budget their time very well, while others work best when they have a short deadline. Write about about what skills you think are the most important to succeed in school. Be sure to support your answer with examples, reasons, and explanations. Some parents decide what their children eat, while other parents let their children choose their own food. Write about how much control, if any, parents should have over their children's diet. Be sure to support your answers with examples, reasons, and explanations. Any comments before I share my opinion? So first off, we can see significant difference in the size of the two topics. Now, thinking as a teenager, I would go for the short topic, but the short topic is not necessarily the easier topic. Also, number one topic gives a lot of detail in order to explain what we mean about being successful in school. And then they are asked to share their own, what skills they think are most important. So personalize the topic. Which of the two topics would you suggest to your candidates? Which one do you consider safer? I have a comment. Constantina said that what she observes is that they may not know how to organize their essay. True. Pros, cons, opinion essay. The second, Efthymia says the second, Efenia says the second, Nick says the first one. So in a way, we are split. I think I would go for the second one. The reason why is that they have very poor monitoring skills. I don't think they know how they learn. It's part of our job to teach them how they learn and to make them conscious of what works better for them. If they're faced with a task like number one on their own, I believe they will very quickly run out of ideas or spend time. It's very easy for topic number one to be led for the students to be led off topic. So they can easily start talking about why parroting is not successful and how it leads to very shallow learning and all that, and not actually discuss the core issue, which is the actual skills. Regarding the second one, I fear that it is quite easy for them to lose sight of the fact that they're discussing control and diet, not control and going out, control and pocket money, control and how you do your homework. So it's specific, though one could potentially, with clever writing, leave some comments about the second part, the, let's say, peripheral issue. And with this, we move on to C2 writing from CPE. I'm not going to read all this, obviously. I believe that the shifting sands it was the first topic, the one that was used to train us when Cambridge introduced this in 2013. Those of us who started teaching way back when, we remember that there used to be a section in the use of English that dealt with summarizing and let's say, figurative use of vocabulary, which was later shrunk into 3 questions on the stylistic elements of vocabulary, lexical choices, and the summary. And then this was, chucked out when the use of English stopped being an independent paper. And based on this, we ended up having this beauty. Don't take me wrong. I love teaching this. I think it's got a great washback effect. But any ideas? Please do not be shy. A true story, Nick. If they use the reading skills and they follow the prompts, they can use the prompt to their advantage. True. Thanks, Fedra, for your contribution. Indeed, it is about their experience as long as they actually think about the way they study. Thank you both for your contribution. So any opinions about the part 1 writing for CPE? Ah, here is the new mom. Apologies if my opinion is a bit personal, but I feel that there is too much reading in this topic format, to be a reliable way to measure writing abilities. There is too much dependence on the reading and its cues. So the shifting sands is a topic I never use with my teenagers. I know it's there, but I don't use it. I skip it. I go to other topics. There are other topics that are more age appropriate for our learners, but in general, the reading, which has already been examined in the reading part, takes a significant amount of time. The students need not only to understand the two texts, understand if they are complementary or contradictory, highlight the two key ideas, and create an essay revolving around these two key ideas, which are let's say the main body, and then on top of this, they have to express their own ideas. Failure to understand the text will not mitigate, will not help the students compose. I cannot think that without proper understanding of the text, students can get a decent passing grade, especially with Cambridge, whose base is nearing 70, 65 to 68%, is not an easy target to achieve. So my fear is that there is too much reading. There is always reading. I mean, we just talked about the MSU topic that was a bit more sizable than the other one. In this case, it's not just reading the essay topic, it's also reading the material, let alone the problems the students may encounter, some sort of unknown word or a concept that they cannot understand, or a topic that is unfriendly, and they cannot choose not to take this task. It is the mandatory one. Therefore, this task really, really raises the bar higher. As I said before, I love teaching it. I enjoy every aspect of working with this, and I think it does provide some reliable outlet for the student, because it gives them some input to think about, and it makes the topic familiar. In a way, it supports them to deal with it, but it takes time for them to read and understand the topic. Costadina has said junior high school students who sit for these C2 topics would say that they may get lost, or they are hard to understand, analyze, and they complain that it's for adults. It's true, it is for adults, especially that specific topic. Now, regarding the actual essay teaching that comes after this, once we get down to boiling the text down to the 4 key points, then the rest is the easy part, the creation of the paragraphs and the commenting. It's what is difficult to overcome is actually identifying those points and getting to use them without repeating, without lifting from the texts, which is considered a serious offense and gets marked down. And we move on to C2. The change was made in 2021. Your opinions. I suppose this is a topic that many of us teach. This comes from the latest test, the 1007, which was, no, yes, 1007. The one that was released for January, after the December exams. How do we feel about this topic? Do you like it? Have you had success with it? Do you not like it? Once again, there are no right or wrong answers. And if anybody says I used to enjoy it with another class, I am not enjoying it this year, I will stand up and clap, because it can happen. With different groups of students, we may experience this. This didn't used to be so difficult last year. Why has it got so damn unworkable? I use this topic for my recent mock test that we took, the full one prior to the students signing up for the exams, it wasn't a riot of success. Most students chose the article, which was a better choice than the essay. The article, based on those sources, was about how diesel buses are more expensive than electric buses and whether the municipality should use the taxpayers' money to replace them. At any rate, very far from the students' interest. They couldn't care less about electric cars or diesel cars. They got confused. It said buses, but they thought about cars. They mentioned the element of fear. I had to point out we're talking about electric, not driveless. It's not the same. You might not even know that the bus you're on is electric unless you see that symbol, the plug that is on the side of the bus. The essay, two students took the essay. One of them had good ideas, but she got carried away and she wrote a chatty article on it. It wasn't an essay. She had good ideas. She didn't have what it takes for an essay to be considered an essay, i.e., there was no impersonal style. Her language was chatty, as I said. There was no thesis. There were quite a few rhetoric questions and devices that are more akin to article writing. So a major problem with these topics is how the sources are used. If anybody would like to comment on this, please do. I need to read topics, comments. Nobody chose the essay topic. Yes, IELTS-like in expectations, Nick. I think that they took a leaf out of IELTS, though IELTS requires more focused attention. Argyromu, you're right. I didn't mean to say that we need to, what I teach them during the essay writing sessions is be smart when you choose. Don't go. That's why we shouldn't advise them to specialize, especially for the Michigan, in essay writing only, because essay will be there, an essay topic will be available. The thing is that it might be a lot more difficult than the other topic. So they should be able to write both topics. I try to get them to learn how to choose the topic that works to their advantage. That's not always easy. It is really difficult to teach this type of essay, and the students never write it. They write what yeah. I can see the point. Many teachers are, they take their distance from IELTS because of this, but we have to remember, we do not behave as statisticians when we write the summary of descriptive statistics in IELTS. We behave as what we are, teachers who may carry out research and present it at a conference, main patterns. Let me not get into IELTS, but let's focus on this. The problem here, and they have mentioned it a number of times from HAU, is that students drop a bomb, they just dump the source and they go. They don't spend any time commenting on it, using it to support, using it as a way that makes sense where they have put it. They just pay lip service. I have to put it, I'll put it. I don't mean to put it. I don't see why I'm putting it there. I just have to. Some of them forget to put it. And then when I say, where is the source? I didn't. I forgot. Because it's not part of what they want to do or they see their value. It's a good thing that the regulations do not stop the students from using the sources in whichever part they want. Some of these sources could be used as a way to end. Some could be used as a way to start. Personally, I feel more comfortable when two of them appear, one in each main part paragraph, but I cannot sort of force them. And finally, we move to MSU. As you can see, MSU becomes visibly larger. And this is their way to explain the topic, to give students something to read, but still there is quite a lot of reading. And imagine the students have 35 minutes for this. They have 45 minutes for this, and it can be read at a glance, not planned, but read at a glance. They have 35 minutes for this, and they need, just to go through, to just read and choose which of the two topics we want to write takes time. Imagine all the other, the planning and all that. No wonder students come back and say, no, 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 I cannot plan. There is no time. So the first one is about school rules. Some schools discipline students for breaking those rules, even when they are not at school. For example, some students have been punished for making social media posts that violate school rules while at home or on vacation. Write about whether schools should be able to punish students for things they do outside school. A very big topic. More and more cities these days are turning to urban planners to help design more livable cities. These planners consider ideas like bicycle lanes, car-free zones, where only pedestrians walk the street, more parks, better lighting, more places where people can gather outside to eat, listen to music, or just enjoy city life. Write about what changes would make life in your place, in the place you live, more enjoyable for everyone. Which topic would you consider more student-friendly? The second one, I do agree. Yeah. Second one is, it's got a lot, but as Nick said, it gives background. So the first one can really, really, really confuse students and not get them to see the point, the away from school, not school behavior, but also what kind of post is that? How have they seen my post? Am I friends with the school? Do they follow me on my social media? What have I posted? At any rate, the topics require careful reading, and we can establish from this brief, let's say, whizzing through, because we didn't have time to look in depth, that there is quite a lot of time to be devoted in understanding the topic. This topic is from test 9 from the MSU CELP. I remember that on the day of the exam, students chose 2, like 9 out of 10. That was the rate, how the topics were chosen. So I have taken these 2, because another one comes up, from the Michigan Assessment Handbook. It shows the descriptors from the Council of Europe for B2 writing. When I show you the C2, B2 is on top of this. So I'm going to be silent for a minute. Try to see how the topics we have seen so far for B2 relate, actualize these descriptors. I will start from the bottom third, formality and the conventions appropriate to the context. Then I will move to produce an essay which develops an argument, gives reasons in support or against, advantages and disadvantages of various options, develop arguments systematically with appropriate highlighting. All of these lead to one thing, creating a culture of L2, speaking, thinking, writing as one thing. Otherwise, we cannot work on writing. And we will find it very difficult to get the students inspired and to get them to understand what they have to do. The same, I will be silent for a minute. Once again, the C2 are shorter because, of course, B2 counts as part, as a given for C2. In this case, I'm going to start from the bottom bullet, multiple perspectives on common academic or professional topics, the ability not only to present their opinion, but to highlight what some people think, what some other people say, so on and so forth. Idiom and humor, very important, not easy, especially when they are to be produced effortlessly and without artifice. And smoothly flowing texts. We've already discussed the importance of cohesion and coherence. So it's become patently obvious that without knowledge, the students cannot actually form an opinion. And the question comes very spontaneously. What do I know about the topic? What do they know about the topic? Without this knowledge, we cannot build our argumentation. And the demands on students are great because they have to use formal language, put the emphasis not only on the presentation of their opinion, because frequently they start the first main paragraph with, in my opinion. I don't want your opinion. I want the facts. First the facts, first the arguments, and then you'll tell me your opinion. They need to build cogent arguments, which are clear, accurate, expressed in an accurate language that presents a wide variety of structures and poses a clear thesis. Now, theses do not appear in writing books. Theses seem to be something that people do at college. Guys, essay means thesis. And unless exam boards understand that they are confusing us by calling essays, and passing essays without theses, we will not communicate. There is no essay without a thesis statement. It's a different thing. It could be an article, it could be some sort of a text, an opinion, whatever else we might call them. Academic writing relies on presenting our clear thesis and making a promise to the reader about where this is going. If you want an alternative understanding, or should I say misunderstanding, this comes from a student of mine from last year's Michigan, the intensive one. We were reviewing her paper after a mock test, and I said, once again, there is no thesis. And she said, I did put one. Here is my thesis. And she had ended the introduction by giving her opinion. And I said, thesis statement does not mean these ti thesisu. It doesn't mean to tell us your opinion on the topic. You're absolutely right, Nick. This is why we have so few level C2 getting an A or getting honors in the writing, and they are dealing with skills that have not been developed in their mother tongue as well. Now, there are some major time wasters for students, and these start with what Konstantina mentioned. First, I have no ideas, miss. It comes third on my list. The first one is, I have to write, and they start writing, hastily understanding the topic. It's about the internet. It's about social media. Yes, what about social media? It doesn't talk about what you think it talks about something else, a subtopic. And mid-second paragraph, they realize they have veered off topic and they have no time to fix it. They complain about lack of ideas. They stumble on unknown words. They have no topic familiarity or very little topic familiarity. And they cannot produce the type of text we want. Essays, in order for an essay to be an essay, it needs to reflect complexity and depth of analysis. It's very easy for an essay to be toned down. Unfortunately, they translate Greek, so we see a repetition of you. You think, you might think. Sometimes essays also become like advice columns. Teenagers should, or you should instead of teenagers should. And they do not really create this formal register. They are written under extreme pressure of time, which means that it's easy for the topic not to be covered well, not to be understood well, and they keep writing while thinking. They do not have a plan to guide them. So it becomes a mission impossible. Is there a way to deal with this? Yes, and I already mentioned it. In my opinion, the only way we can fight against this, is integrating skills. This is the basic premise behind what course books do. They start with a unit which has a general topic. These days, we start by having a unit opener with exciting pictures, videos, audio material. We discuss this. We start asking questions, a good start for any unit. And thus we start collecting ideas and vocabulary on a topic that might at first be unfamiliar. To give you an example, food mileage. First time I heard the term, I was like, food what? But now it's become a topic we keep discussing and it's becoming familiar. I am so proud of myself. First time I had to teach environment in writing, I was so clueless. My understanding of the environment is so much better these days. I'm ready to take the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire test. Unfortunately, the students do not follow this. So by integrating the skills in class, we need to start the writing lesson from speaking. It might also require something more than the speaking. By threading tasks, by getting them to watch a video that might be authentic material, or by getting them to brainstorm prior to this video based on the title, by giving them something short to read on this topic so that we can generate some ideas and give them some realistic sense so as to avoid this exaggeration that leads to the whole essay being toned down. We may follow the principles of inquiry-based learning, start by getting them to write questions which they would like answered. What is food mileage? Why is it important for food not to travel long distances? How is this related to environmental topics? And this gets students to research, gets students to dig into the topic. This comes from Scrivener, the natural dimension of writing. Why do we write in life? We write on Facebook, we write on Instagram. I see a post by Despina or by Fenya, and I comment on it. The post is the trigger, and I write as a reaction to this. We need to give them the opportunity to write short little things, because the short form of writing is easy to read, to understand, to give feedback, and they can see how vocabulary works in that framework. We can then, of course, all of that happens in L2, so we work on speaking, and this helps us provide further scaffolding in terms of vocabulary. We can even identify misconceptions. Once I had a student, I even remember the topic, I think it's Test 8 from the second book of the Hellenic American Union, ECP. It was about the environment once again, and it was about greenhouse gases and alternative energy sources. And the poor thing got confused between natural gas and greenhouse gases. So the solution was translated in her head as a problem. And the whole thing made no sense, plus all the other misconceptions that snowballed the essay into getting a very low grade. The second thing that we can do is to establish routines, to establish planning habits. This is an acronym which hopefully will appear in my book at some point when Butterfly receives my whole manuscript. STAR helps the students understand how writing needs to start. And we start by specifying the topic. How? By getting to select 3, 5, 7 keywords. And I say 3, 5, 7, meaning depending on the length of the actual topic. The fewer, the shorter the rubric, the text, the topic, the fewer the words we should underline. I stress this because Greek high school students take the highlighter and they start painting the wall. The papers cannot close after they have highlighted them. So they highlight nothing. They end up highlighting everything. The next part of STAR is to trace your ideas. What do you already know about this topic? What can you say about this topic? Brainstorm, drop ideas on a piece of paper. And now take these ideas and sort of form them into meaningful paragraphs. How can you develop them? If you're teaching Michigan, in this case, you can start thinking, which sources will you help? Will you choose? How will they help you? If you're working with Cambridge, at this point, you would get the students to think of the key ideas and how they would follow into the paragraphs. And finally, I cheated here. We write and edit, because it's very important to remind students that out of the 45, 35, 90 minutes, they need to keep 5 minutes aside to simply read. I'm not sure when Cambridge will come to their senses and allow pencil, but or at least allow computer-based writing, because it's becoming a bit of a hassle to get teenagers to write in an orderly manner. The third thing that we can do is provide blueprints for paragraphs. What I mean by that, We can get the students, personally, I like creating my own sample topics. I get the students to understand the conventions of the essay, so what needs to go where. Then we study the paragraphs and we break them down to the little bricks that build each paragraph. This means that now we have replicable building blocks which can be taken and used. So instead of thinking, oh, how am I going to start this essay? I have no idea. You know that my introduction has to be a hook, anything that grabs the attention, that states the facts. Then I will put the connecting ideas, something that supports what I have said, perhaps the view of the people on that, and then my thesis. What is the conclusion, the concluding paragraph? It's about a quick wrap up, one idea to perhaps point out the importance of the topic, and then my opinion, perhaps a suggestion if the topic takes suggestions and if it is related to what I mentioned in the main part. The same applies for main part paragraphs. My aim in this is to make it as mechanical as possible. And I will apologize for this because there's nothing mechanical. And once again, for those of us who love writing, there is nothing mechanical in it. But if I leave it up to their creativity, time will be wasted and things will not go as planned. And at any rate, this is functional writing. It is not creative writing. So by doing this, I can help the students assimilate the content of each paragraph. Are there any downsides? Nick, you're absolutely right. There is a digital. It's just that parents are too scared to send their child. I mean, I don't know of many teenagers. Personally, I haven't had any teenager who took the computer-based one, but I have many candidates who now, I mean, most of my candidates take the computer-based IELTS. Are there any downsides? Of course there are. And the first one, and for this I would like to apologize, it is too prescriptive. I'm foistering my own ideas about paragraph structure and about overall text organization onto my learners. Am I the only person who can write? No. Is my way the best one? No. Are there any successful ways? Yes. The thing is that the more, it's the paradox of choice. The wider the scope, the more difficult it becomes for students to pin down what they need to do. So what the learners may not want to follow this pattern. They might find it difficult. And there is this doubt that I mentioned before. Without you, will they be able to write it? So the alternative that I would like to suggest is that to start with this simple paragraph design, follow it, but gradually remove the teacher from the equation and allow the learners to improvise, to add their own little touches and provide practice in micro writing. So in class, for the time being, we write when we have a mock test or something related to exams. We haven't done it as a test, but we discuss the topic in the way that I discussed before. Then they create the introduction in groups. One group creates the introduction, the other group creates the conclusion, and each group creates the main part paragraphs. So by the end of the lesson, in between them, they have actually written it. All that remains is for them to tidy it up, add their own little pieces, touches, and give it back to me. But the micro writing works because we do say thesis statement, and then when the introduction comes, there is no thesis statement. Of course, at this stage, the thesis statement could be a rhetoric question, but I told you of the whole thing about the convention. And it's a good idea for students to, in a way, study each other's work. So this is what I meant before, the building blocks. 1 or 2 sentences to paraphrase the topic, the hook, a supportive or clarifying sentence, the different voices. These two create the connecting information, and then the thesis statement or the rhetoric question. This is the skeleton. I sometimes put this on the whiteboard when the students are writing in class so that they can remember the steps. And this is an example. So the question whether arts should be a school subject is a hotly debated one. Some parents and students believe that the arts can help students receive a better rounded education, while others consider them extracurricular activities which should not take time from other subjects. This essay sets out to examine both views before a personal opinion is expressed. As you can see, the thesis statement is light. It is not the kind of a thesis that you would see in a dissertation or in an academic paper meant for college or university, but still, it's there. And this is the positive habit of, and the future learn in all this. Why is this viable? Because it helps learners develop their readiness and helps them make decisions. It helps them gain knowledge, acquire the knowledge needed. They do not need to waste time. They know the steps they need to tread on. And the micro writing serves as mini rehearsals, so they can spend more time on the writing, not on analyzing a given model. The whole point might also be who writes the model. The model is supposed to follow the exam board's brief and guidelines. Unfortunately, this is not emulated in most books. In the past, we had Cambridge or Longman or Oxford University Press materials on writing, which were so difficult. The students found nothing in common with them. These days, we have a lot more human writing in the models, the kind that the students can emulate, but still we can see some discrepancies. The brief of the exam board is not followed accurately. Does it provide adequate scaffolding? In many ways it does. It is a good way for the students to have a healthy model and be able to see how their ideas can be inserted. Of course, blind copying can happen. And as always, we need to remind students of ethical use of the sources that they have. ECPE gives them marks for authorial voice, therefore they have to find their own voice. And this is why we need the speaking part where they express opinion so that they can find their own voice and give original input and an original understanding of the topic. But certainly it helps them avoid translation. As I said, I really enjoy writing these models myself, especially for the essays they create. I usually try to take the successful ideas they used, which may have been a bit poorly expressed, and put them in my model so that they can see how they can be better expressed. Another aspect, I'm finishing, should be to familiarize them with the assessment criteria. This is an CPE essay on first part writing from Cambridge Proficiency. Students are given the criteria, and they are also given one of the sample topics that have already been graded by the assessors. These are found in the teacher's version of the book at the back, and they get in pairs. They understand what, of course, I give them the explanations from the teacher's book, what content grades, what communicative achievement grades, organization, and so on. And they have to write comments. They have to make corrections if they want. And then we read the grading that the assessors provide. A bit of personal opinion as well, apologies for this, but when I read the comments that they make for what would be considered as a not so successful essay, I wonder why more of our students do not get great scores in CPE writing. The teacher's book analysis of the contents of such essays seems to be very laissez-faire, laissez-passer, very easygoing on people who do not actually have paragraphs, whose ideas might not be so fluently expressed, and yet our students get D when they go to take the writing test. Just a little question mark there. So this is how I would phrase it in stages. In the pre-writing, we analyze so that we won't miss the point. We apply some think, pair, share to brainstorm, and we're exposed to planning. I try to get them used to selecting which ideas they will use from those that they brainstormed. Some of them might be a bit basic. Then they learn how to follow and adjust a plan, and they identify the aim of each paragraph. For the post-writing, we work on their editing skills. We play mistakes hunt, which is a group of frequently occurring mistakes, which they have to correct. And we get to think what we could do better next time for some feed forward once again. But let's turn to us. How frequently do we write? Those of us who teach essay writing need to write ourselves. And this means that we need to chase opportunities to write articles, voices, IATEFL. It's there, it's a teacher's magazine. The newsletter by TESOL Greece, if you want to publish something on our blog, if we get together and create a blog all together, writing for ELT News, why not? We are the teachers, we are the grassroots. Every researcher in education comes back to us and asks questions. So why should we not share? And writing makes us more aware of the problems of writing and the storm that comes into the head of a person who tries to compose and synthesize. We can prepare samples based on the mock student's answer and incorporate what they have done well in a better language. So to make essays more sustainable, we need to integrate them with other skills. We need to work on genre awareness, paragraph structure, establish planning habits, and help students go through the stages of process writing and make it a class activity. I'm so sorry it took me longer, but we did have a chat. So, well, these are my sources so that I can be... and it's time for our Vasilopita. I'm so sorry I don't have cake to offer you. By the way, let's say hello to Vicky, who, as I said, is now a new mom. And she's very happy with her baby boy. And we're so happy as well.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Maria. You can see I'm a new mom, because you can see my eyes and my, black circles.
You look amazing. You have the glow of motherhood.
And I have help. Imagine if I didn't have any help. Anyways, guys, hi, everyone. Happy New Year. Wish you the best.
It's great. Thank you for making the effort to come. I know that it's not easy with the baby. You have so much on your plate right now. So now I need to enter your names. Let me do it right now. So, we don't have any namesakes. We don't have any people with the same first name. So Constantina entered first. Then we have Evanthea, Eleni, Tanya. Guys, I'm saying the names out loud. If you don't hear your names, please correct me because I cannot see the screen right now. Despina, Fidamsi, Sofia, Martha, Nick, Peña, Fedra, Vasiliki, Evangelia, Χρυσάνθη, Αργυρό, and Χρυσούλα. Guys, is there anyone who didn't hear his or her name? Vicky and I, of course, are not taking part in the lucky draw, unfortunately. Best of luck to everyone. I will now spin the wheel once you are able to see my screen. Can you see my screen? Yes?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, here it goes. 3, 2, 1. The lucky coin goes to... Tanya! Yes! Well done. Miss Tanya Englesu, you are the proud winner. Well, not of this book. This is my copy. Your own is nicely wrapped up. Tanya, I will see you at IP and give it to you, unless you're in Thessaloniki any other point in time.
I will be there. I will be there, Maria. Thank you so much.
I'd love to see you and have coffee, and we would love to hear from you when you read it, if you liked it, if you enjoyed it.
Definitely.
Guys, may that be a happy year for everyone. May it be the year when we start over. There is a little tiny legal problem with our signatures. The lawyer is complaining that the signatures are not properly visible to the names. We are down to the nitty-gritty, but it will be done, I promise you, and we're going to have a big, nice, fat conference face-to-face to enjoy each other's company and learn from each other. Thank you so much. Tanya, this is your golden year in TESOL. Well done, and happy that so many of you joined. Thank you so much. Next month, well, actually, this month, Kirsten Wachter on inclusive materials, designing inclusive materials. We will see when Fiona will be able to present for us. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.